Say it again, the woman in the maid's uniform whispers. Not loudly, not for the room, just for him. Across the glass-walled conservatory, crystal light fractures into 1,000 sharp pieces, turning every smile into a blade. Waiters glide like ghosts between marble columns. The Atlantic is only a few minutes away, but even the ocean can't cool the heat of humiliation, because humiliation in places like this is its own kind of entertainment. The man in the tuxedo doesn't look at her for long. He looks past her. At the older woman beside him, perfect posture, perfect pearls, perfect control. Then he clears his throat and speaks into the microphone, as if announcing a charity donation. As of tonight, he says, voice trembling under the practiced calm, I'm ending my marriage. There's a collective inhale, a soft, delighted shock. A few women cover their mouths the way they cover their rings so everyone sees them. Somewhere near the center of the room, a young socialite in white satin, Bianca Whitmore, tilts her head like she's already measuring a veil. The older woman, Margot Harrington, doesn't smile. She doesn't need to. Her victory is a room full of witnesses. And the woman in the maid's uniform, hands still damp from polishing silver, hair pulled back so tight it hurts, stands perfectly still, the way you stand when you refuse to give someone the pleasure of your collapse. Then she lifts her eyes, not pleading, not confused, almost amused. From the shadows at the edge of the conservatory, a man steps forward. Black suit, military stillness, a face built out of restraint. He doesn't look at the crowd. He looks at her. And when he reaches her side, he opens his palm. A single card rests there. Matte black, no logo, no name. Only a symbol pressed into it like a bruise. A small obsidian crown. Obsidian protocol? He asks quietly. The woman's fingers close around the card as if it has always belonged to her. Yes, she says. End it. At that exact moment, phones all around the conservatory begin to vibrate. 1, then 3, then dozens. A ripple of confusion travels through the wealthy like a sudden draft. And on the far wall, a massive digital screen displaying Harrington Maritime's stock price for the gala's investors, numbers begin to fall. Not dip. Fall. Fast enough to make the room go silent. Margot's pearls catch the light. For the first time, they look like something fragile. The woman in the maid's uniform takes one step forward, and when she speaks again, her voice doesn't tremble at all. Thank you, she tells them softly, for making this so public. The man in the tuxedo, her husband, stares at her as if he's seeing a stranger. Because he is. To understand why that black card ends an empire, we have to go back. Not to the beginning of their marriage, not to the day she walked into their mansion, but to the moment she decided she would never beg for love again. Because this story doesn't begin here. It begins 3 years earlier, with rain against the windows of a mansion that smells like money and cold stone. The Harrington estate sits on a cliff like it's judging the ocean. White walls, tall windows, a driveway long enough to make you feel small before you ever knock. That first night, rain slides down the glass in thin, nervous lines, and Serena Gray, newly married, stands under the front portico holding a single suitcase. She isn't dressed like a bride anymore. That was earlier, in a chapel so expensive it looked untouched by human hands. Now she wears a simple coat, hair pinned back, a small smile she's trying hard to keep steady. She tells herself this is what starting over looks like. She tells herself the nerves will pass once she's inside. The front door opens before she can knock. A woman stands there like a portrait that has come to life, elegant, controlled, and already disappointed. Margot Harrington. She looks Serena up and down without hiding it. Not curiosity. Assessment. Like Serena is an object that might be returned. You're late, Margot says. Serena blinks. The storm... Margot steps aside, allowing her in without warmth. The storm is weather. Harrington women don't let weather affect their schedules. Serena opens her mouth to apologize and stops herself. Not because she's proud, because she's confused. Nolan Harrington, her husband, should be here. He should be the bridge between this mansion and the life she's trying to build. But the foyer is empty of him. Only Margot, the scent of expensive perfume, and the polished silence of a house that feels more like a museum than a home. A man appears behind Margot, older, broad-shouldered, wearing that quiet expression wealthy men wear when they've spent their lives letting other people speak for them. Edmund Harrington. He nods at Serena once, as if to say welcome and don't expect much. "Your room is on the east wing," Margot says. "You'll find the schedule in the drawer. Breakfast is at 7. Nolan leaves for the marina at 8. You will be presentable by then." Serena's smile tightens. "Presentable?" Margot's gaze doesn't move. "We have standards." Rain hammers the windows harder. Somewhere deeper in the house, Serena hears Nolan's voice, laughing briefly with someone, with a spark of relief lights in her chest. "He's here. He's okay." She steps forward, then stops when Margot raises one finger. "Before you run off," Margot says, voice soft as silk, "we should be clear about something." Serena feels the temperature drop without any window opening. Margot leans closer, just enough that only Serena can hear. "My son has always been generous," Margot whispers. "He sees potential in people. Sometimes he mistakes need for love." Serena's throat tightens. "Excuse me?" Margot's smile is perfect. "I'm saying, Serena, don't embarrass us." Behind Margot, Edmund says nothing. And somewhere down the hall, Nolan's laughter fades, leaving the house to its quiet again. That is how Serena enters the Harrington family. Not as a bride, as a risk to be managed, as a problem to be controlled. The next morning, Nolan finally kisses her cheek over coffee. It's quick, distracted. He smells like cologne and stress. "You okay?" he asks. Serena studies his face. Handsome, tired, a softness in his eyes that makes her want to believe in him. "I'm fine," she says carefully. "Your mother, she's intense." Nolan lets out a small laugh. "That's just Mom. She'll warm up." Serena almost says when. But Margot's footsteps approach before she can, and Nolan's spine visibly straightens. Margot walks in with a folder and sets it on the table. "Since you're here," she tells Serena, "we should go over household expectations." Serena looks at the folder as if it might bite. "I thought we had staff," she says, trying to keep her voice light. Margot's eyes flick toward Nolan. "We do, but a Harrington wife contributes." Serena glances at Nolan, waiting for him to say something, waiting for him to laugh and tell his mother she's being ridiculous. Instead, Nolan clears his throat. "It's not a big deal," he murmurs. "It'll help you settle in." Settle in. Like a guest. Like someone who should be grateful for the privilege of being allowed inside. Serena opens the folder. Lists, schedules, rules. A daily routine that looks less like marriage and more like probation. Margot watches her with calm satisfaction. And Serena realizes, slowly, painfully, she didn't marry Nolan Harrington. She married into Margot Harrington's kingdom. That first year, Serena tries everything. She's polite. She's helpful. She laughs at jokes that aren't funny. She wears the right dresses. She learns which forks to use and which words to avoid. But Margot doesn't want obedience. Margot wants surrender. It starts small. A glass left on the counter becomes a lecture about class. A question about finances becomes an accusation about intentions. If Serena mentions a book she read, Margot says, "How ambitious." If Serena stays quiet, Margot says, "How dull." And Nolan drifts between them like a man trying to keep peace by refusing to choose. When Serena cries quietly in their bedroom at night, Nolan strokes her hair like he's petting an anxious animal. I don't want to fight with her, he whispers. Serena's voice breaks. I don't want to fight with her either. I want you to protect me. Nolan looks away, guilt tightening his jaw. You're stronger than she is, he says softly, as if that's a compliment. But it feels like abandonment. Outside their window, the Atlantic keeps crashing into the cliffs. Every night, relentless. As if the ocean is trying to warn her, this place doesn't change. It erodes you. By the second year, Margot stops pretending Serena is family. She starts treating her like staff. If you have time to sit, Margot says one afternoon, you have time to dust. Serena's hands tighten around the teacup. There are employees for... Margot doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. Employees are paid to do a job. You are kept. The word lands like a slap. Kept. As if Serena is a luxury Nolan brought home. As if her existence is a cost. Serena stands up slowly, forcing her breathing to stay even. Is this how you treat all women? She asks. Margot tilts her head. Only the ones who come for what isn't theirs. Serena turns to Nolan, who sits at the far end of the room staring at his phone as if it might save him. Nolan, she says, voice shaking now. Are you going to let her talk to me like that? Nolan doesn't look up. Mom, can we not do this today? That's it. That's his defense. Not stop, not apologize, just not today. Margot smiles faintly, as if Nolan has proven her point. Serena feels something inside her change. A small fracture, a quiet decision. If no one here will treat her like she has worth, then she will have to remember it herself, and for 3 years, she holds on to that memory like a match in wind. The cruelest things in wealthy houses are always framed as tradition. They call it standards. They call it discipline. They call it family values. But sometimes it's just cruelty wearing pearls. It happens in the 3rd year on a morning so bright it looks innocent. Margot announces a family photo session. A charity calendar, she says. A tasteful tribute to the Harrington legacy. Serena knows better than to argue. She puts on her wedding dress because Margot insists. Not a new dress. The original. White silk, lace sleeves. A piece of Serena's hope, preserved in fabric. She steps into the living room and finds the staff gathered awkwardly by the wall. The photographer sets up lights. Edmund reads the newspaper. Nolan adjusts his cufflinks, nervous and silent. Margot stands in the center, hands clasped, smiling like a saint. Serena approaches, heart beating fast. Margot's smile widens. Oh, she says softly. Perfect. Serena's stomach twists. Perfect for what? Margot's eyes flick toward the marble floor. There, near the fireplace, muddy footprints lead across the polished stone. Wet, dark, intentional. Serena looks at Nolan. His face pales. He knows. He knew. Margot speaks gently as if giving a child a chore. Clean it, she says. Before the photographer captures the mess. Serena stares. You want me to mop in this dress? Margot's expression remains calm. It's symbolic. Symbolic of what? Serena's voice is thin now. Margot steps closer, her perfume thick, suffocating. Of gratitude. You wanted a Harrington name. You should be willing to work for it. Serena's eyes burn. She looks at Nolan again. This time she doesn't plead. She just waits, because the way he responds will tell her everything. Nolan swallows. He rubs the back of his neck. Serena, he murmurs, not meeting her eyes. Just do it. It'll be over faster. Something inside Serena goes quiet. Not the anger, not the pain, but the part of her that still expected rescue. She kneels. The marble is cold under her knees. The hem of the wedding dress spreads around her like a surrender flag. Someone hands her a bucket. Someone hands her a cloth. The staff look away, embarrassed, afraid. Margot watches with satisfaction so deep it might as well be hunger. And Serena scrubs. Mud smears. Water darkens silk. Each motion is slow, controlled. Because if she moves too fast, she'll cry. And if she cries, Margot wins in a way that lasts longer than a photograph. When she's done, Margot claps once. "Lovely," she says. "Now you look like you belong." Serena stands. The wedding dress clings heavy and damp against her skin. Nolan avoids her gaze. Edmund turns a page. The photographer lifts the camera, and Serena smiles for the photo. A smile that looks like obedience to everyone else. But inside her chest, a different thing is taking shape. A cold, patient certainty. This is not love. This is captivity. That night, Serena stands alone in the bathroom, peeling off the ruined dress. Mud stains the lace like bruises. She stares at her reflection. She looks exhausted, but her eyes are clear. She opens a small box hidden behind a loose tile, tucked where no one ever checks. Inside is not jewelry, not letters. A slim phone with no case, no recognizable brand. A device that doesn't belong in a mansion filled with vanity. She powers it on. The screen shows a single icon. An obsidian crown. Her thumb hovers. She doesn't press it. Not yet. Because she remembers why she came here in the first place. 3 years ago, she told herself she needed to know one thing. Whether Nolan Harrington could love her without her power. Whether he was capable of choosing her when choosing her cost him something. She closes the box, turns off the phone, and lets the secret sit in her walls like a heartbeat. Over the next months, Serena watches Nolan more closely. He has good moments. He brings her coffee without being asked. He kisses her forehead when he thinks she's asleep. He apologizes, sometimes, in vague ways. "I'm sorry Mom's hard on you." But he never says, "I'll stop her." He never says, "I choose you." And Serena begins to understand something that hurts worse than Margot's insults. Nolan isn't cruel. He's weak. And weakness, when it protects cruelty, becomes cruelty itself. Meanwhile, Margot begins planning for Bianca Whitmore. Not openly, not yet, but the signs appear. Whitmore invitations on the counter, gala planning calls, a dress designer's number written on a notepad. Serena asks Nolan once, quietly, "Is something going on with Bianca?" Nolan laughs too quickly. "No, she's just a friend of the family." Serena nods as if she believes him. Outside, rain begins again. It always returns. And Serena feels the ocean's warning in her bones. This place doesn't change, unless she changes it. The invitation to the Glass Conservatory Gala arrives in a thick envelope embossed in gold. Margot reads it aloud at breakfast, as if presenting a verdict. "Whitmore Foundation," she says, "is hosting. Bianca will be there. Investors will be there. The press will be there." She lifts her eyes to Serena. "And you," Margot adds, "will be useful." Serena keeps her face neutral. "Useful how?" Margot slides a garment bag across the table. Serena unzips it and sees the uniform. Black dress, white collar, apron, not a fashionable version, an actual staff uniform. For a moment, Serena can't breathe. Nolan's fork pauses mid-air. "Mom," he begins. Margot doesn't look at him. "She's been so eager to contribute to this family," she says. "Let her contribute." Serena turns slowly to Nolan. He opens his mouth, closes it, then finally says, "It's just one night." One night. As if one night of public humiliation doesn't echo for years. Serena sets the garment bag down carefully. "I won't wear it," she says softly. Margot smiles. "Then don't attend." Serena's jaw tightens. "As your son's wife, Margot cuts her off gently. "As my son's wife, You will not embarrass us. Nolan's voice is thin. Serena, please, don't make a scene. Serena looks at him for a long moment, and something else inside her shifts. Not to rage, to clarity. Fine, she says. One night. Margot's smile widens. Nolan exhales in relief like he's avoided a disaster. But Serena is not thinking about survival anymore. She's thinking about timing. The gala arrives with icy perfection. The glass conservatory is a structure of glass and steel perched above a manicured lawn, lit so brightly it looks like daytime inside. Outside, night wraps the estate in dark blue velvet. The ocean wind pushes against the walls like it wants in. Serena arrives in the uniform. The fabric is stiff. The collar bites her throat. Margot greets guests with effortless charm. Nolan stands near the center, looking handsome, uncomfortable, and, most importantly, silent. Bianca Whitmore appears in white satin, surrounded by laughter, jewelry, and attention. Her eyes find Serena immediately. She looks Serena up and down and smiles as if she's just confirmed a rumor. Margot guides Bianca toward Nolan. Darling, Margot says, loud enough for nearby guests to hear, isn't it good to see you again? You look radiant. Bianca touches Nolan's arm as if it belongs to her. Nolan doesn't pull away. Serena stands near a silver tray of champagne, hands steady despite the tremor in her chest. A guest approaches, eyes narrowing at the uniform. Are you staff? The woman asks. Serena meets her gaze. Tonight, apparently. The woman laughs, thinking it's a joke. Margot drifts closer, voice sweet. She likes helping, Margot says. It gives her purpose. Serena feels heat rise behind her eyes. She blinks it away. Because she will not cry here. Not in front of these people. Not in front of Bianca. Not in front of Margot. Hours pass like slow torture. Serena is told to refill glasses, adjust centerpieces, smile politely while strangers talk about her as if she's not there. Poor girl, someone murmurs. She really thought she'd married up. Gold diggers always do, someone else replies. Serena hears it all, stores it quietly, like evidence. Near midnight, Margot taps a glass with a spoon. The sound cuts through the conservatory. Conversation fades. The room turns toward her with obedient attention. Margot gestures for Nolan to join her. He walks to her side, face pale. Serena's heart begins to pound harder, not because she doesn't know what's coming, because she does. Margot smiles at the crowd. Thank you all for being here, she says. Tonight is about partnerships, about legacy, about making sure our future is aligned. She turns to Nolan, guiding the microphone toward him. Nolan's hand shakes slightly as he takes it. He looks out at the crowd. His eyes pass over Serena briefly, and he looks away. As of tonight, he says, voice tight, I'm ending my marriage. A wave of shock ripples through the room. Serena stands still, as if she's frozen, as if her body has decided it will not give anyone the satisfaction of collapse. Nolan continues, words rehearsed. It's in the best interest of our family, of our company. We're moving forward. Margot steps in smoothly. Sometimes, she says, difficult decisions must be made for the sake of stability. Bianca's smile is barely contained. The crowd murmurs, hungry. Serena feels something strange in her chest. Not heartbreak, not anymore. It feels like the last thread snapping. Margot turns slightly toward Serena as if addressing staff. Serena, she calls, voice loud enough for everyone. You may go. There's nothing for you here now. For a second, Serena's hands tremble. Then she slowly sets down the tray. She lifts her chin. She walks forward, the uniform moving with her like an insult. She stops at the center of the room, and she looks directly at Nolan. You're divorcing me, she says, voice calm, for a business deal. Nolan flinches. Serena, Margot interrupts, don't dramatize. You're being given an opportunity to leave with dignity. Serena's lips curve slightly. Dignity. After 3 years of scrubbing floors in silence, after being called worthless, after being displayed like staff at her own humiliation, she looks around the room, all those polished faces, all that money, all that arrogance, and she realizes something dangerous. They don't know who she is. They never cared to learn. In a mansion like this, people only see what they want to see. A maid, a wife, a disposable woman. Serena feels the hidden phone's weight in her memory. The box behind the tile. The obsidian crown icon. Her thumb pressing. Not yet. Not while she's still inside their narrative. She smiles, slow and controlled. "Thank you," she says softly, "for making this so public." Margot's smile falters for the first time. "Excuse me?" Serena turns slightly and looks toward the shadows at the edge of the room, and that is when Elias Vane steps forward. He moves like someone trained not to be noticed until it's too late. Black suit, no jewelry, a stillness that makes the air around him feel heavier. He stops beside Serena and opens his palm. The black card rests there like a final word. "Obsidian Protocol?" he asks. Serena takes the card. "Yes," she says. "End it." At first, nothing seems to happen. Margot lets out a short laugh. "Is this supposed to impress?" Then the phones begin, one after another, a chorus of vibration and startled whispers. Screens light up across the room, messages, alerts, market notifications. On the giant display wall, Harrington Maritime's stock price begins to plummet. A man in an expensive suit stares at his phone and swears under his breath. Another investor steps forward, face draining of color. "What is this?" Margot demands, voice sharp now. Serena looks at her. And for the first time in 3 years, Serena speaks to Margot not as a daughter-in-law, but as a force. "That money," Serena says softly, "that saved your company." Margot's eyes narrow. Serena continues, every word precise. The loans, the emergency funding, the investors who miraculously decided to give Harrington Maritime another chance. Nolan's mouth opens. He looks between Serena and the falling numbers like he's losing his grip on reality. Serena's gaze never leaves Margot. "It was me," she says. The room goes silent. A silence so complete you can hear the ocean wind pressing against the glass. Margot's voice is a whisper now. "That's impossible." Serena's smile is almost kind. "No," she says. "It was inevitable." Margot takes a step forward, anger breaking through her composure. "You're lying." Serena lifts the black card slightly, letting the light catch the obsidian crown. "Obsidian Protocol has been activated," she says, "and your lifeline has been withdrawn." The screen behind them flashes, down 80%, in minutes. People begin to move, not gracefully, not politely. Panic is the one thing money can't fully hide. Margot's hand trembles as she tries to keep her voice steady. "Who are you?" Serena's eyes glitter. She could end it right now with a name. But she waits, because she wants the room to hold its breath a little longer. Then, the conservatory doors open. Not for a guest, for authority. Men and women in dark uniforms step in with clipped precision. A lead investigator approaches with a badge held calmly. "Margot Harrington?" he asks. Margot straightens, outrage flaring. "Do you know who I am?" He doesn't blink. "Yes, and we have warrants." Edmund stands abruptly. "This is absurd." "Jian Lan Tai Chin," one agent says quietly. "Money laundering, falsified reports." English words follow fast, clinical, merciless. The kind of language that does not care about your family name. Margot's face turns pale. Nolan stares at Serena as if she's a nightmare that learned to speak. "No," he whispers. No, Serena, you can't do this." Serena's expression doesn't change. 3 years, she says softly. You watched them break me. Nolan's eyes fill with panic. I didn't know it was this bad. Serena's voice is quiet, and somehow that makes it sharper. You knew, she says. You just didn't think it mattered. Nolan's breathing turns ragged. He steps toward her, then lunges, not calculated, desperate. A man falling off a cliff and trying to grab anything, on the way down. Elias moves, one clean motion. He catches Nolan's wrist, twists, and forces him down with controlled force. There's a sharp crack, more sound than sight, and Nolan screams, collapsing to his knees. Serena doesn't flinch. Margot does. The room erupts in shouts. Agents surge forward. Handcuffs click. Margot's pearls shake as she's restrained, her perfect composure shattering into rage. You! She shrieks at Serena, speaks at. You ungrateful. Serena steps closer, her voice a low, even blade. I was never your charity case, she says. I was your test. And then, finally, she gives them the name. My name is Serena Ashford, she says, loud enough for the room to hear. Princess of Ellendor. The conservatory freezes. Even the wind seems to pause. Somewhere, a champagne glass slips from a hand and shatters on marble, and Serena, no longer in anyone's uniform but her own power, turns away from the wreckage without looking back. But the story isn't finished, because as the Harringtons fall, another shadow begins to move, one that Margot was never truly in control of. Later that night, Serena stands in a quiet corridor away from the crowd, the conservatory's light fading behind her. Elias speaks for the first time without the formality of a bodyguard. We've exposed them, he says, but the laundering trail doesn't end with them. Serena's eyes narrow. I know. Elias hesitates, jaw tightening. Then he says it. My father, he tells her, is Mikhail Dravik. The name lands like a door slamming. Serena's heart doesn't race. It steadies. Because now she understands. The Harringtons weren't the monster. They were the mask. And the real monster just noticed she's awake. News breaks before dawn. Not in the gossip columns first. In the financial ones. Harrington Maritime and Freight is spiraling. Assets frozen. Accounts audited. Investors fleeing. Photographs from the gala leak online. Margot in handcuffs, Nolan screaming, Serena standing in a maid uniform with a face like winter. And the internet does what it always does. It cheers. It speculates. It devours. But Serena is not looking at the headlines. She's in a private suite overlooking the gray Atlantic, the sky heavy with coming rain. She stands at the window, hands behind her back, watching waves slam the cliffs. Elias stands a few feet away, posture straight, eyes scanning exits as if danger might arrive through the glass. He isn't just a guard. He's a reminder of what's next. Serena speaks without turning. You told me your father's name, she says. Why now? Elias's voice is low. Because he'll come. When he loses money, he doesn't accept it. He retaliates. Serena's reflection in the window looks calm, but her eyes are sharp. Were you always going to tell me? She asks. Elias's jaw tightens. I didn't know who you were when I was assigned. I thought you were a noble woman living privately. Serena turns slightly, a faint smile on her lips. A noble woman in a maid uniform. Elias doesn't smile back. I didn't understand your test. Serena walks to the table where a laptop sits open. On the screen is a map of connected accounts, shell companies, offshore trusts, an elegant web of hidden money. For 3 years, Serena has been building this quietly, not from the Harrington mansion, from the shadows behind it. She taps the screen. These accounts, she says, were used to keep Harrington Maritime alive. Elias watches. Your money? Serena nods. Yes. He studies her. Why? Serena's eyes flick toward the ocean. She speaks carefully, as if admitting something she hates about herself. "Because I needed to know," she says, "if Nolan Harrington loved me, or the idea of me." Elias's face is still, but something in his gaze softens. Serena continues, voice quieter. "I grew up surrounded by people who smiled because they wanted something. I wanted one thing in my life that was real." She pauses. "I chose anonymity. I chose a name that meant nothing. I walked into a family that cared only about appearances and waited." Elias's voice is gentle, almost disbelieving. "You waited 3 years." Serena looks at him. "Because love," she says, "is not proven in grand gestures. It's proven in small choices, in protection, in loyalty, in doing the right thing when no one is watching." She closes the laptop softly. "And Nolan failed every day." Silence settles between them. Outside, rain begins again, drumming against the glass like a slow applause. Elias speaks carefully. "My father won't accept this loss." Serena nods. "Good." Elias's eyes narrow slightly. "Good?" Serena's smile is thin. "Because if he comes, he shows himself." She walks past him, calm as a queen even before the crown. "For 3 years," Serena says, "I've watched cowards hide behind money, behind family names, behind respectability." She stops at the door and looks back. "I'm done letting monsters wear masks." Mikhail Dravik does not storm into the Hamptons with guns blazing. He isn't that kind of villain. He is the kind that sends invitations, the kind that makes a threat feel like a favor. 2 days after the gala, Serena receives a message through channels so private most governments can't access them. A single sentence. "We should speak, no signature." But the handwriting of power is unmistakable. Elias reads it, his face tightening. "He wants you on his ground," he says. "He wants control." Serena doesn't hesitate. "Then we go," she replies. Elias watches her, something like reluctant respect in his gaze. "You're not afraid?" Serena's voice is calm. "I've been afraid," she says, "in different ways." She thinks of marble floors and wet lace, of Nolan's silence, of Margot's satisfied smile. She lifts her chin. But fear doesn't get to drive anymore. They travel quietly. No public jets with royal insignias, no announcement. Just the kind of movement that looks ordinary to anyone watching, because real power rarely needs to announce itself. They arrive in Eastern Europe under gray skies, a city of old stone and newer glass. The air smells like wet pavement and cigarettes and secrets. A car picks them up, windows tinted. No small talk. The driver doesn't look at them in the mirror. The safe house they are brought to is elegant in a minimalist way. Less mansion, more fortress. Inside, Serena sits at a table with screens, files, and secure connections. This isn't about guns. It's about money. Because money is what built Dravik. Money is what feeds syndicates and corrupt officials and quiet empires. And money is what Serena controls better than any weapon. Elias stands near the door, silent, alert. Serena turns a page in a file, eyes flicking across names. "Your father's network is wide," she says. Elias's voice is controlled. "He built it to survive." Serena taps the table lightly. "Then we don't attack the body." She looks up. "We attack the heartbeat." Hours pass. Then a day. Serena speaks to bankers and regulators and legal teams in coded language that sounds like business, but carries the weight of war. She doesn't threaten. She doesn't beg. She simply moves. And with each move, accounts lock. Transfers stall. Companies that existed only as shadows suddenly find themselves in daylight. Elias watches her work like someone watching a storm organize itself. At night, Serena stands by a window in the safe house, looking down at rain-slick streets. Elias approaches quietly. "You're doing this alone," he says. Serena doesn't turn. "I'm not," she replies. Elias's voice is low. "You don't trust easily." Serena lets out a soft breath. "Trust is expensive," she says. "People spend it like it's cheap." A pause. Then Elias says something unexpected. "My father taught me that loyalty is a currency," he murmurs. "He taught me everyone has a price." Serena finally turns, eyes steady. "And what did you learn?" she asks. Elias's gaze holds hers. "I learned," he says quietly, "that some people don't have a price. They have a line." Serena studies him. In the Harrington mansion, Elias had been a shadow, a silent guard assigned to protect an anonymous wife. But now, under this gray sky, he looks like a man at war with the blood in his own veins. Serena nods once. "Then hold your line," she says. The meeting with Mikhail Dravik happens in a place that looks too beautiful to be dangerous, a private art gallery. Paintings worth more than the Harrington house. Soft lighting, security hidden behind elegance. Mikhail arrives in a tailored coat, silver at his temples, eyes like cold metal. He smiles as if greeting old friends. "My son," he says first, looking at Elias, "you've been difficult to reach." Elias's face doesn't change. "I've been busy." Mikhail chuckles. "Busy playing hero." His gaze slides to Serena. "And you," he says, voice smooth, "are more interesting in person." Serena's expression remains polite, distant. "Mikhail Dravik," she says, "I expected you sooner." He smiles wider. "I prefer patience. It lets people reveal themselves." He gestures toward a seating area. They sit, not close, not far. A careful distance, like chess pieces. Mikhail folds his hands. "You caused quite a spectacle," he says. "The Harringtons were useful. Now they're ruined." Serena's voice is calm. "They ruined themselves." Mikhail's eyes narrow slightly. "Perhaps." He leans back, studying her. "I've heard many names for you," he says. "Princess, heir, queen-to-be." Serena doesn't react. Mikhail continues softly. "I've also heard you froze a series of accounts connected to my network." Serena tilts her head. "I did." His smile fades, just a fraction. "That was unwise." Serena's voice becomes even gentler. "No," she says. "Unwise is building your empire on stolen money and expecting no one to notice forever." Mikhail's gaze hardens. "Do you think you can fight me with law?" Serena smiles, faint. "I'm not fighting you with law," she says. "I'm fighting you with reality." Mikhail's eyes flick briefly toward Elias, then back to Serena. "You're bold," he says, "or naive." Serena's tone doesn't change. "I'm finished being naive," she replies. Mikhail's voice drops. "You took my cash flow," he says. "You embarrassed my partners." His fingers tap once on the armrest. "You understand what happens when people do that." Elias shifts, subtle, protective. Serena lifts one hand slightly, a quiet signal for him to stay still. Then she reaches into her purse and places a slim folder on the table. Mikhail's eyes follow it. Serena slides it toward him. "Open it," she says. Mikhail does. Inside are documents, transaction trails, and, most importantly, proof. Proof of connections, proof of laundering routes, proof of officials paid and companies used as camouflage. Mikhail's smile disappears. Serena's voice is soft as falling ash. $2.4 billion, she says. Frozen. Mikhail's jaw tightens. That's not possible. Serena's eyes hold his. It is, she says. And it's already done. For the first time, Mikhail Dravik looks uncertain, not afraid, but forced to calculate. Because he knows what that number means. It means not just inconvenience, it means weakness. And in his world, weakness is an invitation to be eaten alive. Mikhail closes the folder slowly. You think money makes you untouchable, he says. Serena leans forward slightly. No, she whispers. I know money reveals what's already true. She tilts her head. You built your syndicate by controlling people who believed they had no choices. Her voice lowers further. I have choices. Silence stretches. The gallery's soft lights hum. Outside, rain continues, indifferent. Mikhail's gaze flicks again to Elias, sharp now. My son, he says quietly. Do you stand with her? Elias doesn't hesitate. Yes, he says. The word falls like a gate slamming shut. Mikhail's face tightens. A storm of anger and something else, hurt maybe, crosses his eyes. Then his expression becomes cold again. You chose, he says. So be it. Serena watches him carefully. This moment is dangerous, not because Mikhail will strike here, in the gallery, in front of witnesses, but because he will remember, and men like him don't forget wounds. Serena speaks again, steady. I'm not here to destroy you, she says. I'm here to end your leverage. Mikhail's eyes narrow. And if I refuse? Serena's smile is faint, merciless. Then I release everything, she says. Every document, every trail, every name. She pauses. And your partners, your friends, will not protect you. They will sacrifice you. Mikhail stares at her. He knows she's telling the truth, because she's not threatening with emotion. She's stating a calculation. Finally, Mikhail exhales slowly. He leans back. All right, he says. What do you want? Serena's voice is quiet. Your hands off my country, she says. Your hands off my bank. And your hands off the people you think you can own. Mikhail's lips curl. You want to rewrite the world? Serena's gaze hardens. No, she says. I'm just done letting you write it. Mikhail studies her for a long time. Then he nods once. A concession. Not a surrender. But enough. Serena stands. Elias rises with her. As they walk away, Serena doesn't look back. Because she knows something important. A syndicate can survive bullets. But it can't survive when its money is trapped in ice. Back in the United States, the legal machine finishes what the gala began. The Harrington trial is messy, public, and cruel. Margot wears tailored suits to court as if fabric can intimidate the law. Edmund sits silent, eyes down, the way he always did. Nolan appears in a cast, rage simmering under panic. Serena does not sit in the public benches. She watches through secure channels, face unreadable as the consequences unfold. The judge speaks. Evidence is presented. Names are read out like prayers for the dead. And when the verdicts arrive, they are not dramatic. They are final. Nolan Harrington, 25 years. Margot Harrington, prison, humiliation, the collapse of her carefully curated empire. Edmund Harrington, no longer protected by silence. In the end, their punishment is not just confinement, it is irrelevance. They are no longer feared, no longer admired, no longer protected by money. They become what they always feared. Ordinary. After the sentencing, Serena stands outside a courthouse under a gray sky. Rain threatens, but hasn't fallen yet. Elias approaches, holding an umbrella. He doesn't open it. Not yet. He stands beside her, quiet. Serena looks at the courthouse doors. She doesn't look relieved. She looks finished. Do you feel better? Elias asks softly. Serena thinks for a moment. Then she answers honestly. No, she says. I feel clearer. Elias nods, as if he understands. Serena's voice is calm. They wanted me to beg, she says. They wanted me to break. She glances at him. And I almost did. Elias's gaze is steady. But you didn't. Serena exhales slowly. No, she whispers. I didn't. A drop of rain lands on her cheek like a touch. Then another. Then the sky gives in. Elias opens the umbrella over her without a word. And for the first time in 3 years, Serena lets herself stand under shelter offered without conditions. Ellendor does not look like the Harrington world. It isn't built to impress strangers at galas. It is built to endure. Stone walls older than modern greed. Sea winds that don't care about status. A palace that feels less like a mansion and more like a responsibility. When Serena returns, the city gathers in quiet anticipation. No screaming crowds, no paparazzi chaos, just people waiting to see the woman they've heard about in whispers. The heir who disappeared to live anonymously. The princess who came back with her own scars. The morning of her coronation, Serena stands alone in a private chamber. Her gown is not delicate. It is structured, regal, heavy with meaning. Outside, bells ring slowly. Rain taps the window, soft now, almost gentle. The same rain that haunted Clifton Cove. The same rain that watched her kneel on marble. Now it sounds different. Not like mockery. Like cleansing. A lady-in-waiting enters quietly. Your Majesty, she says, voice trembling with awe. It's time. Serena closes her eyes for a moment. She remembers Serena Gray. The maid uniform, the wedding dress soaked in dirty water, the way Nolan looked away. Then she opens her eyes, and she walks forward. The ceremony is cinematic in its simplicity. A grand hall, light streaming through tall windows, officials standing in solemn lines, a crown resting on velvet. Serena approaches the dais. She does not smile for cameras. She does not perform for strangers. She stands as if she understands the weight of what she is inheriting. When the crown is placed on her head, it is not victory. It is duty. The room bows, and Serena, now Queen Serena Ashford, turns slowly to face her people. Her voice carries through the hall, steady and clear. I will not rule from a pedestal, she says. I will rule from the ground you stand on. A hush. She continues. I have seen what power becomes when it is used to humiliate. Her eyes flick briefly to the far side of the hall, where Elias stands in formal black, perfectly still. I have also seen what loyalty looks like, she says. Not spoken. Proven. Her words are not fiery. They are firm. After the ceremony, the palace corridors fill with movement. Advisors, ministers, security, tradition. But Serena slips away into a quieter wing, a balcony overlooking the sea. The air smells like salt and rain and something clean. Elias follows, as he always does. But he stops at the doorway, respectful, as if he doesn't belong inside her private air. Serena turns to him. You can come closer, she says. Elias steps forward slowly. His posture remains formal, but his eyes are different now. Less guarded, more human. You were meant to be my guard, Serena says, voice soft. Assigned, professional, controlled. Elias doesn't deny it. Yes. Serena takes a breath. And yet, she continues, you chose me, even when choosing me meant choosing against your blood. Elias's jaw tightens. I chose what was right. Serena's eyes shine faintly, but she does not let tears fall. Do you know what they used to call me? She asks quietly. Elias studies her. In Clifton Cove? Serena nods. They called me worthless, she says. They called me a gold digger. Her voice tightens slightly. They made me believe, for a moment, that I had to earn basic respect. Elias's gaze darkens with anger. Serena lifts a hand slightly, stopping it. I don't want revenge anymore, she says. I want truth. Elias's voice is low. Then tell me what you want. Serena steps closer. The ocean wind lifts a strand of her hair. She looks at him for a long moment, long enough that the silence becomes its own language. Then she says, I want a partner. Elias's eyes widen slightly. Serena continues, steady. Not a shield I hide behind. Not a guard who stands outside my doors. A man who stands beside me. Elias swallows. Serena, he begins. She cuts him off gently. I'm the queen, she says, almost smiling. For once in my life, I want to make a choice that is mine. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out something small. A ring, simple, not flashy, not designed to impress a gala, designed to last. Elias's breath catches. Serena holds it out. I'm not asking you to be my bodyguard, she says. I'm asking you to be my husband. The words hang in the air, carried by sea wind and rain. Elias stares at her like he's trying to make sure this is real. Then he lowers himself, not kneeling in submission, but bending slightly as if honoring her truth. His voice is quiet. Do you understand what you're offering? He asks. Serena's gaze is unwavering. Yes, she says. A life that will be watched, judged, pressured. She pauses. And still, I want it. With you. Elias's eyes soften. For the first time, he lets emotion crack his discipline. I spent my whole life, he says, voice rough, believing I was born to protect monsters. He looks at her. You showed me I can protect something better. Serena's throat tightens. Elias takes the ring with careful fingers. Then he stands fully, eyes locked on hers. Yes, he says simply. I will stand beside you. Serena exhales, a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding for 3 years. She slides the ring onto his finger, not as a claim, as a promise. Behind them, the palace bells ring again, lighter this time, as if even the stone walls approve of something hopeful. And somewhere far away, in a world of collapsing mansions and empty names, people like Margot Harrington learn the truth too late. You can break someone for years. But if you break the wrong person, you don't create a victim. You create a reckoning. Serena turns toward the sea. Elias stands beside her, not behind, not in shadow, beside. And for the first time, rain feels like blessing instead of punishment. If this story stayed with you, the humiliation, the turning point, the moment she finally stopped begging, leave a comment with the word obsidian, so I know you made it to the end. And if you've ever had to rebuild your dignity in silence, you're not alone.